Oh, I realized I was muted this whole time. Fantastic. So, just to summarize everything that I was rattling on about to myself, apparently, this console is spitting out error code FEFE and FE00, which my understanding is a bad NAND flash and possibly something with the Wi-Fi board. I'm going to need to look these back up to see what exactly those issues are. Water damage indicator was tripped. There was corrosion throughout the board. And I must have done a pretty good job cleaning it up because I don't see it. And this via was also corroded out. It's not making contact with that rail. Instead of holding it up to the camera, I'll just get the microphone or microscope. That via is corroded out. It's not connected to that rail. So what that will manifest, the power won't go through those two vias right there. It just means this console won't charge. But if it's spitting out FEFE and FE00 codes, then this thing is probably not going to say unsavable, but it's got an uphill battle. Let me check the other components here. Charge port's good. All the clasps look good. For the ribbon cables, and the game card slot also looks pretty good. Suffice it to say, I would like to try and save this board if I can. And if it is an FE, I think it was FE, that's a bad NAND flash. In that case would mean trying to swap the NAND flash, which I'm not opposed to doing. Reballing a BGA chip I've done before. I don't have the stencils. I don't know what the ball size are for these. I'm just gonna have to maybe guess. I have 0.5 and 0.45 diameter balls, so hopefully I can use those. Because if it is a dead NAND flash, this board is dead, so at least trying to save it would be the best. I think I suggested on my notes that I should try reflowing these two BGA chips, but my understanding is it's not gonna be that easy. But right now I just need to know what this console is going to do. So I know it's not going to charge. I am going to put a charger to it just to see what it does. Because if it does something strange, then, well, at least be able to sort of document it. I did not grab my battery. There it is. Alright, well first let's get a charger in it and just see what it does. Power on, power off. Okay, this is with a battery in. Battery out, should do the same thing. Why it doesn't blink, I don't know. That's a problem I still have to look into. It may be benign, but not necessarily important at the moment. What will be important is all that buildup. Ruining my groove. Oh, it'd help if I actually put the power connector in all the way. Okay. FE00. Okay, let me look up what that code means. I have a massive list of problems and solutions that I've been sort of working on. Should be able to actually bring that up here. Yes, I can. Okay, so error code FE00. Bricked NAND. Restore NAND via hard mod. The console shut off during an update. That's theoretical information. Means there's an error communicating with the NAND. Maybe yours died during the update process, firmware corruption. So without a NAND backup or hard mod, I doubt you can do anything. Error communication with the NAND chip. Let's just zoom that in. Or the most significant, VRAM has been cleared. If you have a mod chip installed, happens when the NAND has been corrupted, or if it's broken, less likely. If you don't have a NAND backup, there's currently nothing that can be done. I think... Oh, yeah, that page died. I know these come from some very reliable sources. So this one comes from DSI Brew, that piece of information. Let's see what they have exactly. So FEFE00, error communication with NAND chip. It's missing, CLK is shorted, etc. So it's kind of suggesting that it might not be bad, just kind of based on the surface level ways of diagnosing. If the clock is shorted. I wonder what that means. CLK would be like a crystal, I would think, that would control... Where on earth would that be, though? Now we're getting into the rather, like... electrical engineering type stuff that I'm not super familiar with. Like, does this have a crystal like it does, like FPGA boards do? Is that kind of how that works? Is it all like digital? Like, is it part of the main CPU? So it's not an actual separate component? Let's just get all this off really quick, and I'm just gonna sort of look around the labeling on the board and see if there's anything obvious. I'm of the firm understanding that I can only really get at this by replacing the NAND flash. So that's going to be a rather cumbersome process. But let's look around the board here. It might be easier to actually look at the schematic and see if I can actually like shortcut my way. Like, I think it's like this guy right here, this long bar. Or like this shiny thing right there. I don't know. The notation gets a little muddy in here because it gets really compact. These are all just pointing out test points. Just a bunch of capacitors, resistors, diodes. Yeah. Like, if I understand, like, crystals, I would think it would be that thing right there. Let me check. Let me get the schematic loaded up. Schematic, I think it's this file right here. Oh, didn't want to do that. it should be this window capture right here. Okay, it is. On. Chat's kind of in the way. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Let me move that down here. So looking to see if there's a CLK. Should probably actually search it. M1 clock. Right off the main EM13. I'm pretty sure this is clock. It looks like a point. Not so much a component. Do I know where EM13 is? EM14, EM13. It's right down there. So I can't tell where the legs are on these chips. So the number notation there really doesn't do me any good. Because I think, I don't remember, what's P1? Is that this guy right here? No, this is P5. The P is a connector, I think. P15, P8, P2. Which one is this? P7. Let me see. Oh, cart. P1 is the game card slot. So pin number 2 is a clock? So that guy right there? That's a ground. No, pin 1, pin 2. So pin 1 attaches to EM13. So let's see if that tracks. And I get continuity between those two. So I think this is, well, this is physical pin 2. I know there's like a mounting point right there. That just might just be for mounting. But that's the first pin of the game card slot. This is the second one. So does it attach to EM13, which, is that even, I don't even think there is an EM13. Is it just an empty slot? No. Capacitor, EM. So this is EM13 right here. Let's see if it attaches to pin 2. So pin 2 right there. And I'm not getting anything. Let me check a good board that is not afflicted by FEFE00. Or FE00, I should say. Let's do the same 2 points. If I get continuity, then that is a very curious development. Okay. Pin 2. I'm not getting anything. Let me just scroll across these pins. And just see maybe pin 2 isn't the second pin. Right there. So is that the second? So pin 2 is right there, it looks like. I am getting continuity to one side of this component of EM13. I'm getting both sides continuity. Okay, I don't know what an EM, I don't know what that notation stands for. But let me verify on this other board. Because what that means is I'm getting a clock signal from the CPU, I think. I might be kind of looking in the wrong spot. And 2. Okay, I am getting continuity there. Okay, I need the... Because M1 clock. So I wonder if the clock is part of the U1 component. Let's see if there's a separate clock input for the CPU. There isn't. See, okay, so clock signals are coming out of the CPU. I wonder if it's just integrated. Yeah, I'm not going to really pretend I understand this. So F2 EM7 goes through resistor 37 into the clock of the RAM. Oh golly. There's 37. So 37 is the top. And FA, I don't know what F2 is. Unless maybe they mean FA2. It's one of the fuse or filter arrays. If that's the case, then it should short to one of the filter array traces should short to this. It kind of looks like it. Looks like the trace goes to this via. Maybe. It's a little hard to see with all the silk screen. No, it was FA2. I'll try this side of the resistor as that kind of makes logical sense. Huh. But then what exactly would that tell me? Am I not getting like clock signals out of the RAM or something? Like, I'm getting really caught up on this note that the author added. Let me look it up again. Clock is shorted. I wonder if that means the clock is shorted on the... Didn't want to do that. The clock is shorted on the EEMC, which is this guy right here, U5. So if the clock is shorted, what would it short to? Because the clock is right here. M6, pin M6, which goes to resistor 113. 113, which just happens to be right there. It goes to EM14. EM16. But how would that line be shorting to ground? It's isolated. Like, even if that resistor was bad, like, unless it's internally shorting the ground. So I guess I can check to see, is resistor 13 shorting the ground? That would be sort of my, aha moment, so to speak. Okay, I'm touching the game card slot. I am on continuity. EM13. Oh, this is my good board. Okay. It is not shorting the ground on my good board. exactly why I keep the Wi-Fi boards in the good boards. Okay, touching ground. EM13 is not shorting to ground at any point. Maybe even if it was internally shorting the ground, wouldn't I be able to detect that on resistor 13 or 113? So I wonder if I can find, what was it, EM14? That's going to be a hell of a thing to try and find. No, EM14 right there. So that's this guy. Does this short the ground? No. But let me see if these two components are connected, as the schematic says. Yes. So on both sides of EM? Yeah, on both sides of EM short to this side of the resistor. And then, so then this side is going to the main CPU, APU, whatever it ends up being. I don't actually remember what notation it was. And then this end goes to the M6 point on the EEMC. I might be able to find it through the vias behind the EEMC. But to what end? So really, if this side of the EEMC, if the clock was shorting to ground, then it would be grounding right now. Now, that wasn't sort of like the, aha, this is bad. It was sort of one of the, let me bring that back up. That was just kind of one of the things that they rattled off. It's missing, CLK is shorted, etc. So that's just like, it could be any one of these things, but the results are the same. So really, if the only thing I can think of doing is checking all of the direct lines into the EEMC. A lot of these I can't due to practical reasons. Like, I don't know where RA4A is, a resistor array. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. I don't think I've seen that notation on this board before. Or like where the hell that would even be. V33, I don't know what that implies. Those are all test points. And I know there's a little cluster of resistors. Or I think those like really tiny capacitors. Let me just kind of look at it directly here. RA, it would have to be like resistor array or at some point. Because I would just be kind of spitballing just on the back of the main chip. Resistor arrays, RA7. So, well, what am I looking for? I need RA4 and 5. So now I know what to look for. There's a couple right there. Um, that has to be it because they're right off the EMC. Oh boy, okay. I could see if any of those are blowing to ground. I don't know which ones are which. I don't think I have any notation to go off of. It could just be logical, 4 on the left, 5 on the right. I think the main problem I'm going to have is how do I test that against the EMC and the main chip? Unless I find the vias on the back corresponds to those points. At least I do have a reference point, but I'm just going to sort of scroll across these and see kind of. Okay, none of them are shorting the ground. Like, really, the best way to do this would be to take off both BGA chips, but holy moly, would that be a problem and a half. Like, really, the only thing I can think of is trying to... It's just looking in this cluster of vias and hoping I can find GA18 through just all of these points right here. Oh boy, okay. But then what would that tell me? It would tell me that a via is bad. So it would be more worth my time studying the vias themselves than to try and find out where to go. I don't even think all the vias are present just because of how big this chip is. Like, I know I'm pretty sure a lot of points just kind of connect to themselves. The EMC doesn't even look like it has that many points, but like, just looking at the chip, I don't even see any solder balls. It's really on there. Capacitor 57, so that one goes to ground. Like, if this capacitor was blown through, does that matter? No, measures fine. I need to glue this little sleeve back on my meter. Point A1 shorts the ground. And then there's a series of capacitors that go to ground. C50, 51, 54, and 55. Those are testing, or they're not shorting. The resistor arrays aren't shorting. The clock isn't shorting to ground. Let me just check it again. It was number 113. That one's not shorting to ground. I wonder if I can track that via to the other side. Cool. It's not helpful. I think it was that guy right there. Which is just a big old pad of nothing that I can really follow. Well, it's a big pad of something is my problem. because it's just this whole entire pad. That's weird for that to be a clock signal, just farting it out all over the place. And according to the schematic, it doesn't go anywhere else. Like, how is it that it's connecting to all these vias but only going to one spot? Let me just make sure I got the right one. I'm not crazy. So it's this via right here. Should be, at least. It is. It is that point right here. Is it just isolated? Okay, that actually makes more sense, but no, that doesn't help me. Because it goes into an inner layer of the board somewhere, and then it travels underneath the EMC. So I'm kind of out of ways of testing this. I think what I can do is reflow the EMC. None of the vias look fouled. I kind of have to just go with my gut and just say reflow the EMC. If it is error communication, then possible a solder ball cracked. It's a little, again, really hard to say. Yeah, this is going to get a little messy. BGA chips are fun. Or preemptively get my fume extractor going. So, heating from the... I can try heating from the bottom so I don't accidentally... Yeah, I'm not going to hit anything. But heat from the bottom. I can also heat from the top if I'm a little careful. Just don't want to melt any of those ribbon cable connectors. Or the game card slot. Really. I'm just going to fart a bunch of flux in there. As much as I can. I'm going to go at 400 degrees. I'm going to start from the bottom, just to try and get the board warm. Might have to take the nozzle off my heat gun. That's always a fun challenge when I use it after a little while. What I'm basically doing is just heating it up until I can get the solder balls to melt so I can jiggle it. Alright, I'm gonna get my nozzle off. Come on. Hopefully not drop it on anything, it'll catch fire. Ooh, that's toasty. Okay, I did jiggle it. Alright, let the board cool down. And see if that does anything. So what's interesting in my notes is I note that it's both an FE and FE00. FE00 is definitely a different error code. It's relating to the Wi-Fi board. I know. I need to actually bring it up and look through it again. Which one was it? Yeah, here it is. So if it's 00, it's a brick NAND, which that was the code I saw when I booted up. If it was FEFE, it was a BIOS issue. I think so. This is the one I think this is the exact same board I'm working on. Corrosion around the NAND. Or it could be this one as well. No. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, warm, not hot. I'll try and see if I made any progress with this. But if it is error communication with the EMC, then it might be possible. I don't really... Would it spit out an error code if... Yeah, I suppose if the solder balls underneath the main chip are busted and it can't see the EMC, it would spit out that code, even if the EMC himself is fine. Reflowing that big chip would be... Actually, it shouldn't be that bad. I should be able to do it. I'm just going to do one at a time, Because if reflowing the EMC was all that mattered, then that might be all that I need. But I won't quite make any judgment calls right now. Let's get this off the clamp. I'll close the schematic for now. I don't necessarily need it. So then, let's try and put it back together and just see what happens. I'm expecting no change. Ah, here it is. If this doesn't work, I can try reflowing the main chip. That doesn't work. I think the only pieces of information that I'm aware of is that there's something, the EMC is just bad. Internally, something's wrong. I can't necessarily prove that, which is a little annoying. I don't necessarily like doing things unnecessarily, but considering that the information out there is so scarce, it leads me on an almost discovery tour, trying to figure out what's wrong. And sort of coming up with practical solutions. So for my notes to have an FEFE, I don't know if that was a fluke or maybe I saw that the first time and I can't say. I might do a couple boot cycles here and see if it changes anything. Whoa, hello. Well, that's rather fantastic. Reflowing the EMC worked. Huh. Well, I'm pleasantly surprised. Hello, Sam. Welcome back to the world of the living. Your EMC had a cold solder joint or a broken solder ball. Whoa, okay. Why are they outside of a Walgreens? I'm kind of stunned. I didn't think that would be that easy. Okay. Now, there is that via I need to address that's corroded through. For as much corrosion as I put in my notes, this board looks really good. I'm going to power cycle it again. Yeah, look at that. So just reflowing the EMC was enough. That is fantastic. I will take any small victories. So I'll need to put that in my notes. As well as linking this VOD. Oh boy, exciting times when problems get solved. So right now this console does not charge. There's corrosion through a via that is leading from the positive line to the main charging IC, which is U11. What am I doing here? I'm taking off that chip. So I will bring my microscope back. Thankfully I put a barrel circle on it, so I would know where to look. Interestingly enough, I'm going to take off the Sharpie. I had one of the last consoles I worked on had a corroded via. That exact same via. So it's a weird common failure point, apparently. Wow. Common in that I've seen it twice of the hundreds of times I've been looking at these motherboards. So it's just weird for it to be the same via 2 times in a row. Coincidence, perhaps, but I find it rather odd. So what I need to do is scrape a little bit of the solder mask away. And me putting a wire in there worked very well for me last time, so I'm going to do that again. I put my microscope underneath my mat. So where am I looking? Ah, this little fella right here. So it's just going to be scratching away solder mask. So I can just put a big fat dab of solder there. So I was able to get continuity inside the via, so I know that the via is somewhat intact, or at least there's still a connection to the inner layers. Just going to try and get a good perimeter around it. Should be good enough. I didn't check if this full rail was intact, meaning if this copper goes all the way to U11, should. I just know that the internal via goes all the way to test point 7, 17? No, 7, test point 7. I'll double check that right now. I can't really check if it goes to... Oops. My probe hit my space bar and turned that back on. Anyway, I don't think... I didn't check the probe going from the copper to the other vias. I am getting connection to test point 7. Right here, however, I do not. Let me check the other vias. Yes, from that copper to the other vias, I do get a connection. So let me grab a really small snip of wire. Cut back some of the sleeve on it. And then I'll very unceremoniously just poke that through. And then just practically just bury it in solder. Ideally, it should just suck solder down into that via and make a connection between these 2 points. Oh, I did not turn on my iron. Is my sponge wet? Yeah, it's pretty good. I'll squirt a little more distilled water in there. Ah! Microscope. Why? Perks of a suction cup. There we are. And my solder's right here. What do I have my iron at? 350 should be good. And turn on my fume extractor. That might be all that's needed. Okay, I'll check it. Touch a little above the wire so I don't gummy up my probes. And I am getting connection. Perfect. That snipped. I need a Q-tip. I can put my little wire away. Back in my little scrap wire pile. So that is now making connection from the via onto this little rail right here. Looks like I still had some Sharpie on the board. And I got all that off. Thankfully Sharpie is alcohol soluble. Now the part of the wire poking through the board, I'm just going to have to cut it flush so it doesn't poke anything. And that little donger is really pointing out. Where is it? There it is. Flush cutters. You can kind of see corrosion kind of poking out. There's really nothing I can do about that. Because this via just dead ends right here. It doesn't connect to anything, so I don't really care about this side of the via. What I should make sure is it's actually making a connection and it's not making just a loose connection. Can I move that via? Or move the wire? Yeah, kinda. See if it's actually making a connection to the inner portion of the board. It looks like it's isolated. It's not touching any of the sides. So I'm just going to touch the positive terminal on the battery connector. See if I can just touch the end of this wire. Okay, I am getting connection through. So it's soldered on where I want it to go. Perfect. Okay, so that should re-enable charging. All things good otherwise. Actually, I'll actually turn off my microscope this time. So let's put this thing back together and well, see what it does. In sort of its full glory. I'm basically just making sure that it charges is really my next step, because reflowing the EMC brought it back to life. First, let's see if I get a blinking charge light. Ah, so it's doing the light on, light off thing. That I don't know the cause of, or even if it's an issue to begin with. So I shall choose to ignore it for now. If the console charges its battery, which it should, then that's really all that matters. I'll just continue to just view that as sort of a quirk until I'm proven otherwise, or I find reasons to suggest that that's due to a faulty component that I'm not aware of. Yeah, for a water damaged board, it does look really good. Just one corroded via, a cracked solder ball on the EMC. I'm guessing it was probably a little bit of corrosion around the EMC, so ate away some of that solder ball. And then I'll go through the process of wiping it, too. Because this is also another console that was just sort of... Oh, I didn't put in a Wi-Fi card. Or at least that's what those symptoms are telling me. Yep. Oh, here it is. Yeah, imagine trying to start a console without a BIOS. Doesn't work. Ah, she still lives. Okay. Let's see what happens when I plug in the charger. I'll bring my USB meter. Ooh. So now this is a problem. So I'm getting nothing out of the charger. I know for a fact this battery is not fully charged. Very interesting, okay. Console still powers on, that's good. I'm not going to worry about that for now. This is my tester power board. I know it's good. I should probably just verify it with another battery board. But now we're getting into something. I'm really hoping I can find out why that charge light turns on and off. I'm hoping that's what this road will lead to. Let me just sort of check everything. All that should be good. I mean, the thing wouldn't turn on if the battery connector was bad. I just kind of unplugged it and plugged it back in. Let's just sort of reset everything here. It'd help if I put it in the right way. Okay. Let me sort of wiggle the charge around. What I should actually do is make sure that I never check to see if I'm actually getting a connection from the positive battery terminal all the way to U11. I never actually did that. I assumed it would. Stay. Positive. That would explain it. I'm not getting anything to U11. Hang on. Let's get Mr. Microscope back. I guess it wouldn't terribly surprise me to see more corroded vias. This console was as bad a shape as I say it was. Vias look fine. Let me just keep probing here. So I'm looking for leg 9 and 10, which are these two right here because they're grouped together. These both short all the way to the positive connector of the battery. I'm not getting anything. So let me just see to make sure this is going to be kind of a dumb test just to make sure. So the vias short to those pads. This side of the capacitor shorts to the pads or to those vias. This side of the capacitor does not short to the battery positive terminal. Okay, so let me flip it over. So the points I'm looking at are the one I just fixed and then these two vias right here, which I thought were good. So let me go from the positive battery all the way to these vias. Nothing. Oh, maybe my solder job wasn't as good as I thought. Nothing? So maybe my theory was right and my little wire wasn't soldered in. Yeah, because since it was only touching. Okay, I'm gonna have to get back in there with an iron. I guess that sort of answers that question. Thought I had it in there pretty good, but I guess not. Let's get it refluxed. See if I can just heat everything up enough for it to really suck solder down in there. I'm going to turn my iron up a little, just to really pump heat into the board. No. Don't want to get too ahead of myself here. I think it sort of made a little mound. I think I just pulled the wire out a little. Okay, I just pulled it out completely. That's fine. I'll just get another wire. Or maybe I'll just see if maybe even this works. If that wire kind of paved the way for a good connection. And it did not. Okay, so I'm gonna need a wire in there. Okay, that means I think the last fix I did was probably not good then. Meaning I'm probably gonna have to solder it on both sides. I'll just have to be very careful about the other side. I'll have to go dig up that board. I know where it is. Because if it's only making contact by the wire just resting against the wall, that is not a good fix. Let's see if I can apply just a tiny bit of solder onto this via. The solder mask should prevent it from bridging the ground. I will double check that. Or maybe if that's even a ground plane, I don't know. I'll just make sure it's not shorting to it because it's not supposed to. Because this little via is isolated. A little hard to see. I may do it. Basically what I'm looking for is, can I move this wire around in the via, or is it in there? Ooh, yeah, that's in there pretty good. Sweet. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do that on my other board. I'm just gonna have to pluck a thing of solder, try and just lock it in. Lock it the F in. Because at this point, I just needed it enough to... I should probably check before I clip this, but nothing... I don't know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Too lazy to flip it over. How about that? I'm pretty confident that worked. It's not like I'm short on wire. I bought a crap load of it to RGH some Xboxes. That must have been the other old wire. I don't know where that wire spirited away to. Oh well. Just making sure I don't leave it touching a contact. I don't see it on my paper towel, so oh well. Oh, here it is. Right at the base of my microscope. Okay, so now it looks a lot worse than I think it actually is. Now I'm successfully connecting from the positive to that point to those vias. Let's put this together and see what it does. Well, since I have the power board installed, I can just do this. And the scenario that I know is normal is a blinking light. So that's curious. I went from the light. So I wonder if that means that it is because of... I don't know. Because this also wasn't charging the battery beforehand. I don't need to turn the thing on. Before I maybe go too crazy, I did say I was going to check to see, make sure this doesn't short along other components. It's not shorting. Perfect. It is kind of poking out a little. So I am going to put a little bit of Kapton tape there. I just don't want it to scratch the ribbon cable for the bottom LCD. It should be fine. I really do not need this much, but better safe than sorry. I'll isolate it. Just got to cut back a little bit. There we go. That shouldn't interfere with the bottom screen. So I don't necessarily have to turn it on, but I will get it back together. Yeah, I'll just put it back together because I want to factory reset it. See if I aligned my touch screen on my tester board correctly, so my inputs aren't off. All right, so let's see if we're charging. We are. Solid orange light. I have a pull based on my USB tester. Sweet. Let's get that back on. Not hitting me with an error code. Also sweet. All right, Sam in a... I think there's a Jeep Liberty. Let's get this thing reset. Ooh, this is still really off. Let me guess. Parental controls. Yeah. I could smell it from a mile away. Let me get the touchscreen calibrated. Alright, now there is a website that I can use to disable or to find the master key to basically disable the parental controls. Let me turn the date to today, which is 11/20/2025. Go over to parental controls. Yes, I forgot. Okay. There is a website. Oh, they are. Oh. Which window was it? Oh, because I accidentally closed it. Oops, there it is. Oh, I have to have it open on my... That's weird. Okay. No, I see a gamoof. I just kind of get a bit caught up in what I'm doing. There is a website. Salt M key generator. 20 minutes? Holy moly. I wonder why the feed is so bad. It's that delayed. Huh. Oh, I'm guessing it either froze or maybe I minimized it and it just kind of broke on me. I'm not going to say I exactly know how all this works, but that's just kind of how it was working. Anyway. I wonder if it's because I closed my Twitch tab, even though I have the Twitch pop out. Oh, weird. Yeah, I wonder if it just got delayed. So basically what I do on this M key generator is plug in the device type DSI, the system's date, which I just put as the current date. I think that's just the easiest to deal with. And then the inquiry number that comes up. Then it farts out a master key, which is 24666, the number of the beast. So now I can freely format the memory. Console's charging. Indicator is good. So I am fairly pleased with how this turned out. I need to add to my notes. I guess I can kind of do that while... well, never mind. I guess I don't need to wait that long. It's weird how fast and slow some of these system formatting, or how long they can take. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's super slow. I'll go through initialization so I don't have to deal with that anymore. Oh yeah, a couple of them go pretty long. I don't even remember what I did yesterday. I think I'd shortened those videos today and pooped them out on YouTube. Because I need to put them... Because as part of my giant document that I have... which one was it? Per the giant document that I have, I've been trying to sort of nail down every single problem that comes up with Nintendo DSi consoles, and that's basically anything I can find on Reddit, people that, or other websites that people are coming up with. Because I think the one that I did yet, like today, was error code FE00. Now I can add that reflowing the EEMC did work as a solution. And yeah, I would have to look for the other ones that I fixed. It was all the way down in charging issues. Let me get. I think this console is pretty good to go. No, there's no camera attached. I don't want to go through that stupid process. No, I got all of them fixed yesterday. I do have to go back to one of them and just touch up my solder job. I do need to look at my per motherboard notes and just add in what I did. Get all this separated. I need to get a Wi-Fi board for this. Ooh. Okay, I don't need that tab anymore. All right, let's get all this moved aside. Wi-Fi board. So for this motherboard in particular, let me go to the notes for this motherboard. Okay. Repaired. Oh, gotta wait for my hard drives to spin up. There you go. Paired, this is a US board, no known issues. No power. I did not verify that it ever had an FEFE error code, so I'll just add that as a note. No confirmation of FEFE00. Or of FEFE. FE00 was solved by reflowing EMMC. Water damage indicator, corrosion throughout the board. Corroded via prevented continuity from battery plus to U11. A different power board didn't change anything. That's not really... Oh, so it's very intuitive of me that I added in my notes that corrosion around NAND suggests fix for the error is reflowing NAND. So I was kind of on the money on that one. FE00 was solved by... Okay. I can just add this to the greater erosion. Okay, that one's good. I need to move this document from my repair folder to ready to deploy folder. I need to get a Wi-Fi board. Wi-Fi board and a power board, and all this really tells me is that this console is ready to deploy in the state that it's in. I'm fairly confident in those repairs. So that's good to go. Now I need to just try and see if I can get solder onto this wire right here. Because I kind of verified today that that wire will just flop about if I don't mount it on this side as well. Wah, wah. Okay, let's see what I got. I'm going to try and just raw dog it here. Ah. I might have to do this the official way. Woe is me. Well, I'll leave the Kapton tape on the back side to try and see if it'll hold that wire in, but I do need a little bit of flux. I think that one's good. That felt good, at least. So now let's just check to see if I can wiggle it at all. Here we are. I can still kind of wiggle it. Okay. Round 2. Just clean off my tip. Okay. Just gonna bury this little guy in solder. If it's pulling solder through the via, then good. But I don't think it's doing that. That looks kind of promising. Hopefully that Kapton tape on the other side is keeping everything together. Ooh, that feels a lot more solid. Yeah, I'm not able to wiggle it. I think that's good then. I'll double check for continuity. And maybe just kind of eye up what it looks like after I clean everything away. Scrape away my gummy flux. Oh, no, that didn't work. I may have to put in a new wire. Just start fresh. Poke a wire through and then try and solder it. Because I'm wondering if this side of the via is just completely gone. Turn down the light on my microscope. Because I don't want that to wiggle around. I wonder what would happen if I just try and dribble some solder paste in there. If that would do any better. See if it would bite onto the wire at the base. What if it would be useful to heat it from the bottom? I might do that. Because if I touch my iron to it, it'll just suck all the solder on, suck all those little solder balls onto my iron. I don't want it to do that. Get this power board off. I am noticing something. That's way too low. Holy. That's better-ish. Supersede my microscope. Okay, I'm gonna do this off to the side here. 400 degrees might be a little rambunctious. I'll do 350. Bah. Let's see if I can get a good sight on it so that I can see it. See if it does what I want it to do, and it just yanks the solder in. Oh, I didn't put my small nozzle back in. Oh well, big nozzle gang. Come on, just slurp in that hole. Do the Lord's work, little solder balls. The Kapton tape I have on there should hold my connection on the other side. Ooh, I like that. Go for 5 more seconds. Okay. And let the board kind of cool down. I blasted it with quite a bit of heat. Try and see if there's any... No extra solder paste that I can get up. Check the other side of the board, see how my Kapton tape fared. Oh, did good. Because that's the joint right there that I just blasted with heat. Ooh, still a little warm. Put that up there. Where am I looking at? Right there. I do kind of want to get that solder off. Those little tiny fragments. Let me get something a little sharper. Just got to be careful not to accidentally peel away the solder mask. I can actually check to see if this thing wiggles now. Nope. Maybe not the most pretty solution, but as long as it works, I'm not too worried about it. I'll, of course, test everything. A little chunk of something got in that via. Okay, so now I'll do a voltage test. Microscope. Multimeter. Okay, so I'll be able to confirm this by just going positive to here. Yep. Make sure this is not shorting to here. Or here. And it's not. That should be a good solid repair. I don't have to worry about that wire breaking contact with the side of that via. because I thought I had solder flow through there pretty good, but now I needed to mount the other side. So cool. I guess I am going to just begin wrapping up here. Get myself some lunch. I didn't expect to solve a FE00, but I am very pleased to have solved a 00. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to do. I think this is good. I just had to touch this up. I think I remember saying what I was going to do to the other board. Oh, I just have to add to my notes. Oh, Jesus, I don't need tape that much. Just want to cover this little pimple that I made. So that it doesn't come into contact with the lower screen display. All I knew is I just needed to touch this up. Before I forgot. But this board is also good. So then I just have to add in my grader notes. I can bring up again. So FE00. I can now add a confirmed entry. I'll link to this video if I remember. Confirmed. Free-flowing EMC restored console function, I guess. Functionality, that sounds better. I'll just a repair I did. That's always nice to put a confirmed under an entry that did not have an actual confirmed fix. Feels good. Thinking. Checking, I have a power board and everything done for this. Cool, yeah, I'm gonna call it good right there.